Hey, martial arts school owners out there, let's talk about the classroom floor, how we're going to make it better. So one of the things that when I'm coaching people in the martial arts space, the first thing is I just want to watch and hear their martial arts floor. So when I open the door to go to your school, depending on your layout, of course, all those things, here's a couple things that I think that people assume means it's a good floor, right? That it's loud because they've got music blaring. That doesn't mean it's a great classroom floor. They're like, oh, look at the energy. Yeah, you're just playing loud music, all right? The energy, that pop should be felt from the instructor on the floor. And it doesn't mean you have to be loud with your voice. Imagine if you go see a great speaker on stage, or you go to a church with a powerful minister, you go to a concert, right? Something where there's someone on a stage. And if you just pay attention how well the audience, don't look at that person there, the audience is into it. If you have a great speaker, the audience, they have them right in the palm of their hand, right? And so that's what a great martial arts teacher is doing. You don't have to be loud, you can be, but music should not take the place of the instructor's energy. And so one of the things you got to make sure when I'm watching and hearing the floor is how well that instructor understands that his voice is a tool to get people to be drawn into what he's doing. Because you are teaching, you're educating, and you have to entertain. See, if you go to a concert just for entertainment, great, because that's what it's really designed for. But the great ones, they pull you into their story, so you care more about just the music. You care about the person as well, too. And so that's how you become a fan. Do you run a karate school? Do you want to own a business and not a job? I'm Aaron Hensley with Rise USA. I owned over 20 martial arts schools, 6 different states, 3 different time zones, 50 plus full-time staff members. I'm going to help you learn how to scale and own a business while you still impact your community and you can love what you do. Download this free guide right now. I'm going to help you rise. And that's how you follow them to the next concert, or you buy their album, or you download it on one of the apps or something like that. And so a great teacher on the martial arts floor is getting people where they want to be a student of martial arts. They're not there because their parents are making them there. They want to get better at their martial arts training. And so the energy has to be felt from the person on the floor, not from the music, okay? Next thing is the floor has to be clean and has to be organized. Those are 2 different things. And so I go visit schools a lot of times and I look at the mirrors and there's handprints all over the place. And I'll say, well, when's the last, oh, we cleaned it yesterday, but these kids put their hands all over. All right, so that means you don't have a culture where kids understand what mirrors are. You allow it to happen. Okay. Organization. They'll have their bags different places and they don't understand that an organized floor, one, makes it appear that you're disciplined. I think you're teaching discipline. 2, it makes it easier to keep it clean. You know where things are, and you know how to access the tools that you have at your disposal. So I've been to martial arts schools where they'll have shelving, or they'll have some kind of locker system on the mat where they store things in it. And I'll open it up, and it's just like a closet with stuff shoved in there, and they don't even know what they have to use on their floor. And yet, when I ask them, when's the last time you used this? And they're like, oh, we don't know. It's like the closet. When you haven't worn something for 6 months, you probably don't need it. And so clean and organizing are 2 different things, and you need both of them. In my schools, I would always ask my staff, would you eat sushi from the classroom floor? If I drop raw fish on the floor, all right, supposedly you eat sushi, would you eat it off the mat? And if the answer is no, it's not clean enough. Because who is your customer? It's the mom who's 35 years old bringing in her 7-year-old kid to you. And she has an expectation about how clean that place is. I'm sure a lot of you guys have been to a gymnastics or martial arts school and you open up the door, you walk in, boom, and you get hit with that smell of feet, and not clean feet, by the way. You know what I'm talking about. That is a turnoff. People go into a restaurant and they go to the bathroom, and if the bathroom's dirty, a lot of people leave because they're like, well, if you can't keep this clean, what's the kitchen like? They come into your martial arts school, and if they smell feet, it's kind of the same thing. When's the last time this place has been clean? When I walk into martial arts school and they've got the stand right there at the front door for all the shoes, and that's the first thing, is because the owner or the teacher has forgotten that you're a business, and they've forgotten what it's like to be a customer walking in, and they've gotten used to it. So on the classroom floor, are you clean? Are you organized? Is there energy from the instructor? Are you entertaining and educating at the same time? Next, do you start and end class when you say class starts and ends? Here's something I used to make the mistake on a long time ago. If class started at 4 and supposed to end at 5, And at 5:07, I'm letting the class out. And I would go to a parent like, yeah, I gave him an extra 7 minutes today. I was like, I'm like acting like I'm bragging that I gave him more time. When in reality, what I wasn't recognizing means I'm starting the next class 7 minutes late. What I didn't also understand, because at the time I didn't understand, people doing anything else but martial arts. Well, the mom was trying to get to her other kid to soccer practice. Now she's going to be late to that. She's got to fight traffic. She's actually frustrated with you. Okay. Adult class, if an adult class went from 8 to 9 o'clock and you went to 9:15 because you're doing some extra sparring rounds with the guys there, when he gets home to his wife, 20, 30 minutes later than normal, she ain't happy with him. And all of a sudden he quits a month later. You're like, why are you quitting? Yeah, because Mama Bear said you can't be hanging out that late no more. So you think you're giving extra value. In reality, is you're disrupting their life because people schedule out their day in their life. So start class on time in class when you say it's going to start. And that's just making sure. And by the way, if you say class starts at 5 o'clock and then you line them up at 5 o'clock and then you talk to them for 5 minutes before you bow them in and start class, you've robbed them of the 5 minutes they're paying for. If you have a class that goes from 5 to 6 and there's some transition when you dismiss the beginners at 5:40 and you have 20 minutes of advanced training, and during that 20 minutes of advanced training, they take 7 minutes to get on their fighting equipment, well, you've robbed them of that time. So you have to create a better culture so people understand that process. Start class on time, end class on time, okay? So energy's got to be felt. Cleanliness, organization, and those are two different things, by the way. Just remember that, all right? Start and finish when you tell people that class is supposed to start and when it's supposed to finish. Then make sure that your third class of the day gets the same energy as the first class of the day. Your fifth class of the day gets the same energy as that third class. And so what I've seen happen is if classes start at 4, let's just say you have a class at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and let's say maybe 8 o'clock. By the time you get to that 6 o'clock class, the school's not as clean, the things are not as organized, and you're like, well, yeah, we're working, things are going on. You should have some systems put in place that the 6 o'clock class, those kids showing up at 6 o'clock are paying the same amount of money as the people at 4 o'clock. They should not get a worse experience, or sometimes it's the reverse. Like you take a while to warm up to get into the rhythm of it. So your 4 o'clock class, you're kind of like not fully engaged. You're not fully awake yet. That's unfair to the customer. That 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock should be the same experience. You've got to reset each time. And so if you're a slow starter and that 4 o'clock class, you don't have the energy, man, get there earlier and get your mindset, get your body right, get in the moment, okay? Show up prepared. When I tell my staff, show up early, okay, it's not about time. It's not about physical time. It means show up already if you're supposed to be there at 2 o'clock and you show up at 2 o'clock and then you have to like get dressed out, then you have to kind of like get ready for the day and you're ready to clock in at 2:30, that means you got there at 2:30. If you're supposed to clock in at 2 o'clock, you better show up ready to rock and roll at 2 o'clock. And if you're a slow starter and you need to be in the environment to get ready, get there early. Professionals prepare in their off time. Professionals don't show up, clock in, and then get ready. Imagine Tom Brady like, okay, I'm here at the office now. Let me study film now. Man, at home in his bed, he's pulling up his computer studying film because he wants to be the best. All right? And so like that's how it became the GOAT. Professionals prepare in their off time. So if it's supposed to be there at 2 o'clock, and you're a slow starter, get there quicker, get there earlier, get in the right mindset. So show up early is not just about physical time, it's showing up being prepared. All right. And if you're ready to rock and roll when it's time, but you are not resetting each class and the 6 o'clock kids are getting a different experience than the 4 o'clock kids, like that's unfair to that customer. And so you've got to create systems in place that you make sure that classroom floor, you're on a stage, guys. You're on a stage. All right. In my new martial arts schools, if you go to a theater, all right, one of my favorite Broadway shows I saw this year was Hamilton. If you go see a show, the audience, it's dark in the audience because you're not the show. The show is the people on the stage. In a martial arts school, the mat is the stage. And so like the only attention should be on the student and the instructor. That is the performance going on. So in my schools, we have it lit in a certain way where like, everyone wants to make sure a lobby they want to make it sexy and like cool and stuff like that. Yeah, great, awesome, that's fine. But the real fire happens on that stage, aka the mat, and that's where all the time and energy and effort should go towards. And so do you have a floor, that stage where you're performing, right? And not that you're performing that because you're faking it. You're performing and understanding like those parents are watching how much you're paying attention to their kids. And are you making sure that a 6 o'clock class is getting the same attention as a 4 o'clock class, right? Do the 3 kids on that early class, because it's not sold out, it's a matinee class, so to speak, and you have 30 kids at 6 o'clock, do they get the same attention? Or do parents think, well, I want to come to a different time because you're not giving enough attention? Listen, there's 30 kids, 300 kids, 3 kids, they should feel like they're the only person in the room. That's a great teacher. You could have 300 kids on the floor and they feel like they're the only one in the room. And by the way, my owners out there, when I ran my 24 martial arts schools, I would pull up my camera systems every single day. And I'm looking not to catch what my staff's doing wrong. I'm catching what we can improve, good, bad, and ugly. What's going right, what's going good, what's going okay, and we got to cut out. I'm looking for what we can improve on so I can coach my team to be better. And one of the things I looked at is the lobby. And all I looked for is how many parents are on their cell phone. How many parents are on their cell phone? If a parent's on their phone and not watching the kid in class, they're disengaged. And a disengaged parent is one step closer out the door. But then there's some of those classroom floors that are so fire that you see every parent, no phone in their hand, and they're leaning in. They're doing this. They're getting closer. And you see them nodding with what the instructor's talking about. Because that instructor finds a way to pull the parents into the classroom floor. They're finding a way to pull those parents in the floor. How do you pull them into the floor? As one is you know that they're there. You occasionally turn and you talk to the families out there so you understand that, hey, they're paying the bills here. I'm entertaining and educating them as much as I'm entertaining and educating these kids on the floor. They're both in this classroom with me and understanding that my environment. I have a concept that we're going to teach at some of our events. You'll hear me talk about it on this podcast as well too, but the teacher, the trainer, the coach. These are 3 levels to being a great martial arts educator. The teacher, the trainer, and the coach. You got to be all 3. And so the one who's knocking that out of the park, I would see that and I would look at the lobby and no one's on their phone. That's a great school. That's a school that's profitable. It's getting referrals. It's healthy. Okay, it's energetic. So on the classroom floor, I'm not even talking about what you're teaching yet, but some simple things that you can make sure that you're doing if you're the teacher. And if you're the owner and you've got people doing the classroom floor for you, is it clean? Is it organized? Do you start and end class when you tell people they're supposed to start and end? Are you making sure that the early class and the later classes are getting the same fire energy, right? They're getting the same time and attention, that your staff is showing up prepared. They're not reading the classroom lesson plan when they show up to work because professionals prepare in the off time. The best train the most, well, it's not just about training on the kicks. It's about training on being a better professional. And so one of the other things about this is, think about this. If you watch an instructor have to go check, like you've got your curriculum over here to the side, your class plans off to the side, all right? And he keeps going back and checking what the class plan is for the day. Did he even prepare? Did he prepare? And you could say, well, he's just making sure he's on the right schedule and the time. All right. You're having surgery. Do you want the doctor to let me go check, is this technique right? Let me go make sure. If it's a big case, you got some crazy thing going on, right? They studied before you showed up for that surgery. They've been studying for weeks to do the surgery. All right. If it's a routine type thing, which classes should be routine because you do 4 or 5 a day every single day of the week, that's routine. If your instructor has to keep checking the lesson plan, he hasn't been trained properly. He's not a professional. He's definitely an amateur. You probably shouldn't pay him. And if I'm your customer and I keep seeing this instructor go back and forth to check, what's going on? Now, if it's a big, testing, right? It's a black belt testing and you're checking, make sure you're on track or something like that. And so once a year type thing, that's a little bit different. Probably should have prepared a little bit more. But how professional is your classroom floor? All right. So energy. Are you educating? Are you the energy or is the music? How clean, how organized? Are you starting and finishing on time? These are things that you have the ability to control and can be fixed if you're not in control of them, can be fixed that fast. It's all about having the intent to be the best in class of operating the classroom floor because guess what? Sales might happen transactionally in an office, but keeping your students where they're leaving sweating and smiling, where they're happy about the product development, when they are becoming better at their skill set, which makes them like martial arts, you're converting them to martial artists because you're great at teaching and training and coaching people on the floor. You're entertaining, you're educating people because your school's organized, it's clean. You're the energy, you're the source, you're connecting with the parents on the floor, they're not on their phone. When you're doing these things regularly, I guarantee you'll have success. I guarantee you'll be profitable. You'll be happier. Your students will be happier. And you'll be on the way to fulfilling the dream you put out for yourself, which is create the business that you loved what you did every single day and it rewarded you financially. And you went to bed every day exhausted, not because you're stressed, exhausted because you gave everything to the people that you love and care about, which are your students and your family, and you're happy with where your life's going. All right, make sure your classroom floor is rocking out with fire content, professional systems every single day.